Let me come back to our international affairs commentator who designs news for the show, who follows different agencies and news outlets to put the topics on the table. I also like his style, Mr. Pantho.
Thanks for passing me the mantle. Very good afternoon to our viewers, and of course welcoming Major Nasser into our studio once again. Let me begin today by the EU top diplomat is unveiling plans to downgrade ties with Israel and sanctioning top officials over findings of human rights abuses in Gaza, marking a major shift in the bloc's approach to Tel Aviv. In addition, the US Federal Reserve slashed its benchmark federal funds rate by 25 basis points between 4% and 4.25% target range as widely expected. And also let me tell you that there is a war between the right spectrum with the left spectrum. There is US President Donald Trump announcing that he is designating Antifa, a decentralized left-wing anti-fascist movement, as a major terrorist organization. So this is the latest build-ups we have across the globe.
How should international bodies like United Nations, ICC, human rights NGOs, Amnesty International respond to alleged this genocide in Gaza? Are current mechanisms sufficient, or they should speak very clearly?
Thanks for the question. I just want to put into notion that just ahead of the High Sessions debate beginning on the 23rd of this month, the United Nations in its almost 100-page report have already said that what Israel is doing in Gaza Strip is labeled, and it is a genocide. So a body like United Nations, when they come up to a certain degree, we can understand that there is no motive for the Israelis to continue this assault. But following such assaults, today we see Israel attacking the Gaza Strip and at least killing 102 Palestinians and injuring scores more. The death toll right now stands at 65,000 plus people who have been killed. And it's not always gunshots and with weapons and tanks. It's more or less dehydration and starvation of the people who live there. According to various sources, we know that there is an attempt of blocking to remove the naval blockade. A lot of ships are approaching Gaza Strip as we speak, and they should be arriving there in a matter of days and weeks. But how the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, handle this issue is a matter to be reckoned with. Now, there is no regard for international law. Even on a previous show, I've said over the 72-hour time frame, Israel had attacked 6 countries in the region. And today, we also understand how Mohammed bin Salman, leader of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and Shehbaz Sharif had met discussing a nuclear pact between the two countries. I understand why that is relevant here in the story of how to stop Israel, or who will be taking the charges in the Middle East to stop Israel. We know how Qatar was attacked. Once again, a violation of international law. These are the elements that will mark Israel as a pariah state in the upcoming debate session in the United Nations.
Shamsul Alam Pantho, I'm sure you have a news which is very desperately criticized by Indian medias, Myanmar medias, something happening in Bangladesh. How do you see, and what are the newses?
Thank you for passing me this statement and this issue regarding Southeast Asia and Asia in general. We see that there is US military activity in Chittagong, Bangladesh. Multiple news sources reporting that US Air Force C-130J Super Hercules transport aircraft landed in Shah Amanat International Airport in Chittagong. This is, of course, a part of a joint exercise between the US and Bangladesh naming Operation Pacific Indro. And of course, it is to garner and strengthen Bangladesh's capacity, to my understanding. But what got to the majority of tabloids in our region, there are concerns raising in India and Myanmar, our two neighbors, one to the west, one to the east. What they are reporting is that they understand increased US military presence in the Bay of Bengal, and how much or so it has raised concern, and their eyebrows have raised, because the US is in the Bay of Bengal. And let me remind you that China seems to have a strategic interest with Bangladesh regarding ports, regarding the Belt and Road Initiative, and suddenly we see that the US is doing joint drills with Bangladesh. Of course, it promotes some kind of understanding and training if to certain extent, but this is not the first time that certain things have happened. We know back in July there was also Tiger Lightning, Operation Tiger Lightning that happened, but every now and then when our neighbors get an opportunity, they do take a bite out of our reputation.
I have a news for you. You have interest to follow this industry. The news is why challenges NVIDIA. Big moves in chips and computing. Huawei has made public its plans to step up in the semiconductor and high performance computing space, announcing its own high bandwidth memory timeless for AI and server chips, aiming to reduce dependency on foreign chips and complete the NVIDIA. How do you see this technological advancement of this company, and is it going to be a threat for Taiwan and China?
Thank you for changing the topic from war fronts to more of a AI and technology field. Now I believe I have venues to comment on the matter. Previously, we used to know Apple and Microsoft being the world leaders in technology, and we knew that Apple had a valuation over $1 trillion. But today that landscape has changed. With the emergence of AI, we understand how NVIDIA has come up to the ranks of Apple. NVIDIA is now one of the world's most profitable companies, with employees having salaries in the 100,000s range. And why their breakthrough happened is because of their graphical processing units, their GPUs. They require semiconductors which are crucial for any kind of hypercomputer or supercomputer capabilities. Of course, those are not found in the consumer markets. Those are more found in military equipment. It's found in various government surveillance agencies, military intelligence agencies. They are all depending on special computing power and sources. But the background of this comes as the market in China has grown so vast with knowledge based from other competitors. They have eventually learned the model of the competitor and tried to make them better. Today, we understand that NVIDIA, a market leader, led by Jensen Huang, even he had a climactic rise from what he was before. So once again, I would like to reiterate that AI is taking over almost every aspect of human life, except that professions such as news journalism cannot be covered by AI. There are certain times even I'm asking ChatGPT to answer certain questions, but it still refers to Donald Trump as former president.
Yes.
While Donald Trump is now the current president. So there are some lackings of AI and technology which the human will definitely have a superior advantage. But as it emerges, we see technology in forms of drone warfare, if you would like to call it. But as you were telling me how it plays out and how NVIDIA is doing, they are now the most valuable company on the face of this entire globe. And what they are trying to do is getting a consumer product that everyone can access, which will definitely give a shockwave and send a shockwave towards Intel, IBM, Microsoft, Apple, and relevant other companies in their field.
Government has declared a timeline. Political parties are working and they are in a mood to move into democracy, but still there is a big conflict between the government and political parties regarding the electoral system. We know politics is an electoral business. Every political party wants to do more profit. So until this debate is settled, declaration of date would be meaningless. As a young generation entrepreneur, as a young generation journalist, businessman, what is your comment on that? What really you mean to demand?
Okay. So right now we're taking this step towards local governance on how we are going to be governed in the coming days. When a country like the United States, it's in the country size of a continent, when there is voting system going on, I from Bangladesh can check my phone to see what kind of, which side are they swaying towards, whether it be Democratic or Republican. Why I give this example is because in Bangladesh we have set a date, February 15th if I'm not wrong, for the upcoming election. But up until that date, what are the things that I'm going to change? Let me remind you, this should be the 13th national election that is coming up, and we must understand, do we have the right infrastructure? Now, previously, in the location where people would stand up, get in line, vote for the specific party and the candidate and leave that station. That is the system that we still have in 2025. It is outdated. It is an old maneuver of using sheets of paper as a ballot to be stuffed into a transparent and if not opaque box. That's the technological aspect we're still at. It is medieval in comparison to countries such as United States, Singapore, Hong Kong and other regions of this planet. We should understand in building an infrastructure where I can be at home and I can vote for whoever I want, regardless of any kind of pressure. Why should there be the need for armed forces to be guarding such polling stations? Where is the technology here? Why are we not implementing the use of technology for the convenience of people for their votes toward a 300-member parliament who will be leading the nation in the coming decades? We are far behind in certain aspects. However, I want to bring out a topic and an issue that is very relevant as of today, 18th September 2025, on a Thursday. We know that Thursday is the last day of the working calendar and Friday is the first day of the weekend in Bangladesh. Today I hear that almost 6 to 7 political parties are going to be holding various rallies in various corners of Dhaka city, a city that is plagued by traffic and congestion. Do the economic companies or do the companies in Dhaka deserve such a slowdown of economy on the day such as Thursday? Why are these things not being putting into an issue? Because it is. There is not a point where we discuss the decentralization of Dhaka. Even afterwards, that people are continuously suffering from traffic, continuously suffering from not being able to move around from one part of the city to the other part. These are the issues that any government that is coming in should counter. But once again, February 15th, everyone is trying to see what kind of results it will bring, whether or not it will be free or fair. And of course, it's been far long in comparison to Nepal. Nepal had declared March, 6 months from their ouster of their government, whereas we are now going into a 13th month of an interim government and we still don't see any kind of major progresses.